We're going to have some fun today on the show because we are going to be doing shout outs and shout downs. Stuff you like, you're excited, you enjoy right now in WWE, and then stuff that you're kind of like, I didn't really like this thing. Let's start off with Tim Lown says, shout out to AJ and Dragon becoming tag champs and openly wanting to be fighting champions. I'll give you that. I think it'll be it's not my favorite thing for AJ Styles, for me. But, you know what? If they want to be fighting champions and it revs up the World Tag Division into something other than just a whole butt of nothing, and they don't feud with Judgment Day every single week, I'm all for it. If these guys go on a 3-month run as champions and they defend consistently and we get new teams, maybe NXT teams, and I'm good, then it's a great thing. Tim says, though, shout down to Triple H for lacking the content-in-chief content officer. Seems like he's more of a chief money grabber these days. Oh my gosh, it's so bold of you to say, Tim. It's not great. It's not a great look. And there's so much of this where I think, I know as much as you do, but I feel like so much of it is TKO and what they want, and Triple H is the face. He's the Dana White of it. He's the guy in front of the camera and behind the scenes that we know that we can all point to and say, if something is bad, he is the reason why. Very well be the case, because we don't know. But I'm sure there are some decisions that are out of his control and they have to make things happen, and then he's just gotta eat it. So I will agree. The lacking of the content, I'm looking for stories. Triple H, I need my saga. I need my soap opera. I need my compelling stories with characters. And I feel like it's been lacking for like this year. Scott Van says, shout out to Ethan Page in NXT. He's a main roster level talent that's been putting on great matches and he's great promo. I agree. I think Ethan Page is really good. I hope that he can get to main roster. He's on the older side, but that's like the whole main event scene on Monday Night Raw right now anyway, so it doesn't even matter. Wouldn't it be great for him to come in and immediately get thrown into like the Intercontinental division or even the main event division? Not in a faction. I thought of this before. I'm like, oh, he'd be great with the Vision. I'm like, you know what? Let's not do some factions. Let's have some fun and just put guys solo, single stars, and immediately put them in programs. Or, you know, it'd be great, and because I think they're buddies too, throw Ethan Page on SmackDown against Cody. Like, have Ethan Page show up in a month and he attacks Cody Rhodes. And you start a 2-month program like on TV. Cody can win, but you've built somebody. Now, Scott goes on to say, shout down to women's US title booking. Julia has no challengers and her story now is partnering with Kiana James. Love to see Kiana get some screen time to try to develop her, but I feel no one outside of NXT viewers have any idea about Julia. I think that they have so far, they have really dropped the ball with Julia. I am exactly the same as you, Scott. I think Julia on main roster is great. I actually don't mind the pairing of Kiana and Julia, only because I'm like, okay, they're giving, as Kiana is going to be the mouthpiece, you know, she's the manager type of person, and it helps because Julia, her English isn't as strong, so I get it. It's just, there's nobody. Like, she was with Zelina Vega fighting her for a while. That was it. Chelsea Green, she's moved on. There's nobody in this US title division. Mi Chin, it seems like it's a rotation of Julia and Mi Chin. That's it. I think that they should throw more talent in there, maybe elevate some people to go after Julia. Or honestly, maybe Julia's just saddled with being in the wrong division. Maybe she should be in the upper one. Maybe bring some people over from Raw to SmackDown to feud with her. Tropical Viking says, shout out to WWE featuring women as often as they are doing right now. Yes, the main event scene, or I should say the main events of Raw and SmackDown, we've had women's matches. The women's tag team match on Raw was awesome. Just do more of that. You know what it is too? It's switching it up. Because we've been so, I think, conditioned with the Yeats and the Yaz and the CM Punks and the Bronsons coming out in the main event of Raw every single week, I think we're also like get a breath of fresh air when we see women's tag team match with a bunch of familiar names. They built it up for 1 week. They just put on a banger match for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, and everyone enjoys it. It shows you that you're like, hey, change up the formula if you're and have the women featured main events. If the program and the story is worth it, have the main event. How come Stephanie Vaquer, who's your world heavyweight champion, hasn't main evented Raw? Probably because she has no program. She's just doing stuff with Nikki Bella. Otherwise, it's like, put them in the main event. They can tell great stories, even on like a short-term notice. Like, that tag match was great. Travel Viking says, though, shout down to the build-up for the big matches not feeling special anymore. The main event scene feels pretty dead. So on SmackDown, the main event scene is Cody and Drew. And in my head, I've gone through this like it's almost WWE 2K, where it's like you go on universe mode and you build up the divisions. Yes, I'm a dork, but you build up the divisions. And if I look at SmackDown, I'm like, who's on the WWE Championship side division? Cody, Drew, Randy, but he's not there. Jacob Fatu? You want to throw him in there because he's starting to get in there? There's nobody. Like right now, you are looking at a title program and title scene of Drew and Cody. Is it? I will say, okay, so Raw is the bigger one with this for the shout down of the big matches. Raw at least has, it feels like 5-6 people looming and rotating around the title scene. I like that. You got constant characters that have overlapped and stories have kind of interconnected and they all kind of have bounced off of each other at one point or another. So they all won that title. It works. However, when it's done consistently over and over again, the exact same characters just doing the same thing to finish a show, like the run-ins and Jay coming down and the Bronsons forwarding them off and doing that thing, that is where everyone gets sick of it. I had one comment the other day who said, hey, it's nobody complained when it was like SmackDown 6 in the 2000s, when it was the same people rotated in those main events. And the argument, when we were going back and forth, we weren't even arguing, we were just talking about it. And I was like, one of the things that I agree that it was the same cast of characters, kind of like what we have now. But I think the difference was the finishes. And you would do different combinations, kind of like what they've done on Raw. But those SmackDown 6 guys of like Edge and Ray and Kurt Angle and Eddie, they would change it up, but you'd have different types of matches. Like there'd be ladder matches and submission matches, and all kinds of different matchups and tag team matches and mixed tags of guys and the matches would end in different ways. It didn't feel like just the exact same finish every week of just, we have people run down at the end and brawl. And then you're getting to now, and when I'm filming this, it's right before Saturday night's main event. So Jay versus Punk, it doesn't excite me. And because these two guys have been in the same orbit for so long, I'm not excited for Jay. I like Jay's story, and I think that they can tell a great story with Jay long-term, Roman, Jimmy, all of that. But to see them both going for the world title, I'm like, I like Punk a lot, but I don't think it should be Saturday night's main event. I think it should be a better story. Seth's injury, it just doesn't help. So yeah, I kind of agree that there's the big matches. They're not there. Jetman. Hey, Jetman, by the way, hi. I always enjoy going back and forth with you, brother. Shout out. They're trying to push Javon Evans, Mello, and Maxine Dupree. Absolutely. Maxine's matches, great. She's had a couple of these now. I'm for it. Maybe move her to, if she can't get it done against Becky, because she's going to get eventually another IC title match when she wants it. If that doesn't work out, move Maxine over to SmackDown, United States Champion. I don't think she could beat Julia, but if someone gets the title off of Julia and Maxine swoops in there, wouldn't that be a great underdog story? I think that Maxine has a lot more potential in there. She's doing great. Same with Javon Evans and Mello. If Mello can get past this Miz thing and is pushed as a singles guy, maybe you could bring up like a Trick and Trick as a bad guy and then try to do Mello and Trick again on main roster on SmackDown. Javon Evans, I think it's just waiting. I don't know why he's still in NXT. He flirts with main roster and he's great. Just bring the guy up, fresh blood. Imagine Javon Evans just immediately going into a fatal 4-way match with Cody, Randy, Drew, and Javon being in there. And then you've got a huge name that's thrusted in there and just surprises everybody. I'd love to see it. So yeah, you're right. Shout out to them. Shout down, he says, to how they fumbled the Wyatt 6, how injury prone everyone is nowadays. Yeah, the Wyatt 6 are interesting. When they came back, debuted, the promo codes, all these things, the glitching, and they did the big beatdown backstage, and it was the craziest thing ever, and Chad Gable was just destroyed. I thought, oh my gosh, they have so much to work with. And even though they took them on and off TV periodically, I still kind of like that because it was where are they? They had the things with Nikki Cross, like giving a box to Michael Cole. A lot of mystery, and you didn't know who they were going to interact with. But it's the spooky character thing, like a Bray Wyatt. I feel like WWE just does not know how to write it. They can't get creative enough where they're like, okay, we make these guys mystical things that nobody can be. We throw lightning and spookiness. They don't know how to get it into a wrestling ring. And now they've gone over to SmackDown. They left them off TV for a while. Now they're in SmackDown. They lose that. I think the big thing too is Bo. Not putting Bo Dallas front and center, doing the Jekyll and Hyde type of character he was kind of doing on Raw, like Adam Pearce sitting in the office. I need more of that because that really works to ground the character more. And then he can throw the Uncle Howdy mask on and go wrestle, but he's not even in matches. Like if Bo's injured, fine. Like it is what it is. They kind of neutered the Wyatts and now they're just another team. I'd like to see them. You know what I'd like to see is the Wyatts continue what they're doing on SmackDown, but because they're just kind of chaos, go to NXT. Show up at NXT, mess with guys there, just to change it up and that they're kind of all over the place. People being injury prone nowadays, it's kind of, I mean, I think we're probably referencing Seth. And I mean, Ray's been out. There's Randy is not injured. He's just off. There's a lot of guys that are, and Rhea broke her nose. So there's a lot of injuries left and right. Can't really help it. It's kind of the nature of it. WWE went through this, I remember before, where it was like a period in the, I don't know, mid, late 2000s, I feel like, where they were leading to like WrestleMania and all their stars were injured. Like they had, I think it was like Batista and Ray, and maybe somebody else was like a Cena or somebody like that. Randy. One of them was like off. There's a bunch of big names that were just gone and they couldn't do anything about it. They haven't reached that level. Like they still got Punk, they got Cody, Drew, Randy. They still have a bunch of big names, but Seth really knocks things out of swing with, I think, where they were going. FP Wrestling, Malayala, I'm sorry. Shout out to WWE. We need some fresh storylines. The Braun Breaker J beef is still going now. I think it's been 1 year. Also need variety matches with fresh storylines. I don't think that's a shout out. I think it's a shout down is what you mean here, but you need fresh storylines. I think we do. I know that they're slow burning, or it feels like they're slow burning Braun Breaker, but they need to do something with that. After Saturday night's main event, I hope we have a clearer picture with Jay, and if he's champion or not champion, is it gonna start really getting into the Jimmy story, the Roman story? This is the thing I've noticed with WWE is like, if Triple H is more of the, I want to slow burn these things, like you're going out of crawl space, like just action something, move it to the next chapter instead of just waiting and waiting and waiting, like fill the gaps in on TV, because even you get to a PLE and then nothing happens. It's like, just let's move something forward, surprise people with something. TSMKR says, I guess is a shout out. He says, I like what they did with Sami open title, him losing it, but keeping the tradition of open challenge to the title. I think this will be a great way to actually kick the door open for younger and developing talent to get more time on TV and then filter them in more directions after we see them performing in the main roster. I don't like WWE pricing out long-term loyal fans. Okay. First thing is, yes, I like the open challenge the Sami did for a short period of time. Although my only issue with Sami himself in the story is he doesn't seem to care that he lost to Ilya. He's like, good job, Ilya. You beat me. Way to go. I'm glad you did that. Sami just goes away now. I'm sure Sami's going to be in a thing with Solo and the MFTs. Maybe it's War Games. That's the direction I can see them with. I like to see Sami coming back, though, and wanting to get involved in his U.S. title. He didn't want to lose it. Maybe Sami's going to roll up to WWE title and fight Cody, somebody he's been aligned with and dealt with Bloodline stuff. You know, maybe he's going to go in that direction or goes back to Raw for the world title. I don't know. But it is nice. With Ilya getting the title, a shock return for Ilya and to win the title on his return night. It's amazing because it freshens that whole thing up. More people please go to the US title to keep giving it that lively feel. And like you said, bring up new talent. Get Javon Evans over and actually debut on SmackDown. Like, be there permanently, I mean. Go up against Ilya in a hard-fought match. US title. Now, like you said, shout down. He says, I don't like WWE pricing out long-term and loyal fans. Yeah, there's not much room for people to actually go to these shows anymore, is there? You got to have a lot of money. But people argue and say, I can find cheaper tickets here and there. You probably can. But in large part, going to WrestleMania is not cheap. Going to Survivor Series, and even Raws and SmackDowns, it's not a cheap adventure anymore. And it's kind of the way of everything is. Right now, we're in the World Series with Blue Jays, and I'm very excited. But I can't even go to that, and I'm in the Toronto area. It's so expensive. It's just so expensive. I could buy an entire 75-inch television with surround sound for one single ticket to go to the game. And that's kind of how it is with WWE too. So I think it's an everything problem. I don't think it's going to change. Party McFly, I love the name. Shout down for WWE for getting our hopes up with the 4-man feet video teaser was for a crazy, awesome War Games team. Instead, it gave us nothing, only wanting us to spend an insane amount of money for WrestleMania tickets. Okay, so the feet video sounds weird, but the foot video, it did give everyone a sense of awe. I think the internet went a little too far in terms of the reaction. It's a WrestleMania promo video, so it's kind of, all right, then move on. The amount of comments I saw, because I covered the trailer, the foot video thing, to give a speculation of like, hey, could it be this, 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 or this? Because that's all we knew. So when I filmed that, and like I recorded for myself, I was like, okay, this will just be fun. That was my mentality going into it. I'm like, oh, they're teasing something. I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know it was going to be related to an ad. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take the information I have, and let's just have some fun and talk about it. And the amount of comments people be like, bro, it's for WrestleMania, you're an idiot. Da, da, da. I'm like, yeah, well, didn't know at the time. And my replies were almost always like, it's just for fun. It's okay. We're just speculating here. For it to turn out to be a WrestleMania 42 ad, I'm like, okay, I'm just in the side of just, it's fine. Like, I don't care. I do not care. I don't care. Like, it's an ad. It is a bummer that it wasn't something. Because my thesis in the follow-up video I did for this was, it shows me that WWE can do something cool, like a teaser thing, and then forget that it's for WrestleMania tickets and commercial. They can do something cool like this. Why not just do that for the storylines? And I think that is part of what bothers a lot of fans, is that sure, they got hyped up and we speculate of what this thing could be, and it turns out to be nothing. And you go, okay, well then it's nothing. But it's people getting mad, I think, are more angry and frustrated, and more frustrated that it just kind of feels typical right now of like, they're not doing anything interesting. And the WrestleMania 42 ad they did, I think it is just a representation of the frustration. That's what I think it is. Damn. LMAO says, shout out to WWE for trying to freshen up the product with changes like Dragunov, breaking up the Vision, Aleister Black, and Vega. 100%. I love that they've done for 3 weeks or so. They tweak some stuff. Let's give Ilya the US title. Let's have Vega show up in the Fireball ending and side with Aleister Black, and now they're together. It feels very much like Karrion Kross and Scarlett, but remains to be seen. But I love the pairing there. It's something different, because otherwise Aleister Black, I'm like, what is he going to be doing? Breaking up the Vision, it's a necessity, but the way they did it was cool. The follow-up I felt like wasn't great, but I love how they did that, and they shock surprises. So we had a couple of weeks of just fun stuff happening. Now, I'm worried that we're not going to get more of that, but maybe Saturday Night's Main Event will do something fun. Shout down, he says, for not having a draft, which would help the roster, especially SmackDown women's division. I agree. I was hoping they would do some trades or a full-out draft. Maybe they'll wait till after WrestleMania when everything clears. But right now, they've just been doing it. We're like, okay, let's just move Sami to SmackDown because we want to. They just move some bodies around. LA Knight goes to Raw, and we're over it. So maybe they just kind of look at it and say, we don't need to go through the whole process of like 2 shows dedicated to a draft, making our pay-per-views, because we do them so frequently, messing up the flow of everything. Maybe they're just like, it's easier if we just do some trades, and Nick Aldis knocks on the door and says, welcome to the show. So I agree. I think I like the tradition of a draft. It just makes things feel more sports-like. And even if the draft is kind of meh or mid, I still think it's a fun 2 nights. Wrestling IG says, shout down to WWE and TKO for raising ticket prices and giving us horrible pay-per-view matches. I don't think the matches necessarily been horrible. I think they've just been kind of average. WrestlePalooza wasn't great for what they hyped up, and the ESPN deal, and then wanting to charge people lots of money. I don't think that that's good. Ticket prices are always going to be a thing that we're all going to hate, and I don't know if they're ever going to go down. My SVR Mania, SmackDown versus Raw Mania. All right, cool. It says, not a new opinion. I guess this is a shout down. He says, but I feel like it's applying more than ever. WWE feels like it's stuck in a system that delivers big moments and there's minimal follow-up or payoff. I'm all for patience and long-term storytelling, me too, but I don't think that there's a lot in that in 2025. There are very few stories right now that excite me to see continue on a weekly basis. Maybe it's just me being burnt out, but I miss the heights that I got watching weekly again in 2023, 2024. I agree. I think it's missing the big moments. I get it though. You can't, what are you going to do? You're going to have The Rock show up every single week on Raw, beat down Cody. You're going to have Roman every single week doing bloodline stuff all over again. I understand you're going to, turn people face and heel every week like it's the Attitude Era. I get that you can't do that stuff. I really do. But I do feel that they are missing out on opportunities to advance stories and make them a little bit more engaging, intense, and thought out. Booking weekly TV is probably super hard, really, really hard. But I think you can still do better where you're like, look at the tag main event you had for the women. Look how great that match was, how fun it was. Imagine if there was a story behind it. They didn't have a story, but they still made it awesome. So I'm just like, imagine if you put work into that you didn't just throw it on a main event of Raw. You built it for 3 weeks or a month. Cody and Drew is spinning their wheels. Maybe something interesting will happen, but I don't see it. Like Randy Orton, turn him heel. Maybe these things are going to happen. And I'm not saying like, okay, you got a big baby face, but like, let's look at LA Knight. You take the real frustrations of fans, for example, of LA Knight not being in the title scene, LA Knight's character being frustrated on TV. He goes up to the sign saying not Jey Uso wants LA Knight. Why not lean into that? Give us more of that. Have LA Knight cut a promo for 2 minutes about being frustrated in the ring. Get fans behind him. Maybe he turns a little bit in more interest. Shout down from LA Knight. Yeah, says LA Knight's booking. Well, Yeah. Kodak says, shout out for having Ilya continue the open challenge. I really enjoy these. Yeah, second person that likes Ilya. I agree. I like that Ilya will continue the open challenge. He's just so intense, isn't he? And he says, shout down where to begin. They need to work on how they open the shows. Feels the same for me. Okay, show openings drive me nuts. I like most things. I'm usually pretty optimistic and positive, but I watch Raw on Netflix, and I know that for about 12 to 13 minutes, it's nothingness. It's show open, then we go to shots of the arena outside, then we go to people getting out of cars and walking and smiling to arena as the commentators announce them in. Then we probably get a replay in there of things, main event, storylines that have happened. Then we get to the arena. Then we get to the person entering the arena, like CM Punk. Music plays. They go down to the ring. Jey Uso's music hits. And we get yeeting. And then he runs it back again. Last week's Raw, where it was Jey and Punk in the ring, number one, that promo has nothing. It was nothing. They didn't do anything. They didn't advance anything. It might just do a sit down for 2 minutes. It would have been better. No, that whole thing, to get to Jey Uso to open his mouth to say words to start the promo, I had it clocked in at about 13 minutes. From Raw starting to Jey going and breathing and saying, yeah, and it was 13 minutes. So by the time he got through Punk, it's almost 30 minutes of the show. But for 13 minutes, 10 plus minutes of your show was introductions and recaps. An entrance. You could have, I've said this so many times before, but I'm like, in that time frame, you could have a match. Do the show opener of like the legends that are there now, then forever, blah, 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 suck it. And then go to the ring. Ding, ding, ding. And guess what? It's two people in the ring. The live audience gets the entrance. The people at home are like, wait, what's happening? Bing, ding, ding, and you got two guys that immediately go right into a match. Two girls go right into a match. It's a wild idea to start a wrestling show by wrestling. It never happens now. It's a crazy thing, but people will watch the wrestling show when there's wrestling on TV. Thank you guys so much for submitting your shout outs, your shout downs. Comment below if you got more. And if you enjoy this video, this format, I'd love to know if you want to do more of these. Please let me know. Have a great day. See ya.